Hey, good morning. Some friends on here already. That's great. Good. 11:30. There we go. Good morning, everybody. Hey, Tad. I owe you a response. I know I'm going to get right back. I promise. Hey, Chris. Hey, Penny. Good to see everybody. I think everybody's probably logging on right now. Who's that? Good morning from Boston. Actually, Quincy. I know them both. I love that area so much. That's like the most historic part of the country. Thanks, Tad. I've just been a bit busy. Hey, Linda. Good morning. Good to see everybody. Happy Friday. Whew, it just, I don't know what it is. It's not like we're at school or have a schedule, but it seems to be so welcome when it's time for Friday. Everything seems so rushed through the week with the kids. Um, Good. So let's start this morning. It is super historic there. I remember when my tour guide days going through there a lot, and I loved it. Concord and Lexington are my favorites, but I love Cape Ann as well, Rockport and Marblehead and all those places. Well, good morning, everybody. I've got a few things this morning that I think are interesting, and one of them is, good morning, Joelle. One of them is, Elizabeth wrote yesterday. She's usually on the call, and she'll probably pop on, but she had the idea she said, why not do this show one time a week, not in the morning, so that people who work can catch it. So I wanted to bounce that off you all and say, what do you think about doing it? Hey, Elizabeth, great idea. What do you think about doing it, for example, on like a Friday as a happy hour? So I can overtly drink wine or beer and also chat. I just thought it is a great idea to have a night of the week where we maybe do it in the evening instead of the afternoon. And I know it gets tricky. Great. And I'm worried because like Olivia always logs on from Ireland, and I know the time difference for people who are in Europe and other places, it's going to be tough. It's maybe better for the people out west, but then maybe they're not ready for happy hour yet. But I'm just going to think about it for the day and see like what time might be good. Because for me, I'd love to have happy hour with you on Fridays, like right after work at like 5:30 instead of 11:30. Hey, Amy. Yeah, it could be fun. It could be different. I just feel bad that people who are working right now are not interacting and aren't able to ask questions quickly and stuff. So I thought maybe one day a week, let's try that and see how it goes. It'll be like our happy hour cocktail time. So I finished the pumpkin, and this is just the way things always go with me. I've finished 2 of these pumpkins. I want to tie this up because we've been talking about this for a while. So you know these Day of the Dead pumpkins, I've been working on the sugar skull pumpkin. And I was reading a bit about it for the Week in Review video, and learned for the first time, which is like crazy. I went to a Catholic school like my whole life, including college. So they didn't talk about the Day of the Dead, and probably for no reason other than it just didn't fit in with what they liked to talk about. But I learned that people would make these skulls out of sugar with moles going back to like the 1600s, and they would put these sugar skulls on their mantle for people in their family who had died. Big ones for older people, little ones for younger people, and they believed the idea was that the souls of those people would come back on that night and be very happy to see all these sugar skulls on the mantle. So I've been working on, as you know, the pumpkin skull instead of the sugar skull. I've been doing the same idea with the pumpkin. And I've been working like an idiot on this little block that I showed the beginning of. And I've been working on a video for I filmed it and I'll get it online later, but the foam block. And then you might know I dyed most of these flowers. So this is like, I think I will put this up on the Day of the Dead, which I think is also Halloween. Is that also Halloween, the 31st? I think I'll put it on the mantle for my dad. And you know, the really weird thing, universe at work, is that this pattern I called, before I even thought I would do it, I called Days of Wine and Roses after the song, because it has a lot of rose motifs in it. And it was one of his favorite songs. So now that I weirdly chose to do this one as an altar piece, this will be the one for him. So I'm going to put it up there, and I have a how-to video coming, how to seal it, finish the back. There's different ways that you can do it. But in other times of the year, I love this pumpkin so much, and he's on his little spindle here, that I think I'm just going to put him in something like this for other days. Not quite as flamboyant, but like something like this. I want him to sit perched a bit higher up and a bit jaunty and sideways. Dollar store has great fake flowers for dyeing instead of Joann's. That's a great tip. Any sort of dollar store or any of those chains, depending on where you are, probably will be $1 is better than 15, which a lot of these flowers were. But Oh, thanks, April. It is fun. I'm glad it's sometimes informative, sometimes crazy. But yeah, I'm very happy. I'm very happy with the design of this. To me, it's very K facet, and it's why I'm wearing this shirt because I thought it was like one giant cabbage leaf or lettuce leaf today. So that one got done, and then I'm almost finished with this one. I'm just adding a bit of yarn to the edges of it. This is the second one I did. This one's the pattern called Monarch, and I got that one done, and I decided not to turn it into a three-dimensional piece. I filled in the background with this beautiful set. I think both of this is from Krista Taylor. She's in Canada, and I order yarn and wool from her that match. I thought it was super pretty, so like ice creamy, candy bright, and it fit really well, I thought, into the background of this. So with this one, this is all going to be part of the video that I'm going to post. But I found this old Victorian frame that has seen better days. So in other words, it's perfect for Halloween. And I haven't blocked it and I haven't even finished it yet. But it's going to be something like this, like a wall piece. And of course, I'm going to trim it down and everything. And the frame is all chipped up and I'm going to do nothing to fix that. I'm going to let it be like this. But I thought I'd create a little Day of the Dead vignette for the fall with the piece on the wall, the standing piece. And then I have my third piece because of Stop Me Before I Kill Again, I can't stop doing pumpkins. I've been working on this piece too, and I'm still deciding what to do with it. Let me know if you have any great ideas. This is the Kiss of the Spider pumpkin. This is my favorite one, actually. And this one's got a lot of little bling in it. So the jury's still out on what to do with that. So I've been working away on that, the little altar, a few videos, did a little bit of teaching yesterday. And then I came back to thoughts of the original reason I got it. No, I don't sleep, Linda. I need to get back into sleeping. I hope I don't get back into doing sleeping pills and things like that because life is so crazy and I can't shut my brain off. But the good thing is you either in the middle of the night at 4 have those big thoughts that are bad, like I wonder if I'm going to have cancer. I wonder, if the kids are going to get into an accident, trouble, something. You either have those or you have great ideas. And lately I've been having great ideas at 4 a.m. So sometimes I just get up and get going. But the thing that brought me to rug hooking in the first place years ago was Claire Murray, because I lived on Cape Cod for a long time. And I was just obsessed with her style. I thought she was so elegant, with sort of personified like the 90s with her power suits, but her hydrangea bushes and wealth, more cave facet. We'll do more cave. This shirt is super cave, right? Cave Facet, the textile designer. I saw him in Amsterdam once for a book signing when I was living there. And it was like, people must have thought there was something wrong with me. I like lost my mind like it was the Beatles or something. It's like Cave Facet because he was just such a cool, elegant, smooth guy and so much style and all his beautiful needle points. Anyway, I love him too. And his needlepoint books are great too. And he does a little bit of hooking, but Claire does a ton of hooking. So I'm going to show you this rug that got me started. It's huge. I'm never going to be able to show you all of it, but let's see. This is I think not originally a Claire Murray rug, and I'll tell you why. It's going to be impossible to see this, huh? It's got text in the, yeah, this is going to be impossible. You know what? Let me stand on the sofa, see if this works. Have you seen this before? 2 mermaids. She's got a mirror and a starfish, and this one's over here with a comb. It's huge. So I bought this years ago, hoping I would have kids, and I ended up having kids, and I put it in Jocelyn's bedroom. This is back there. You know what? Yeah, let it go. And I had it rolled up in the suitcase to bring it to Europe and everything. I love that design. And then I saw it like last year in an old issue of Rug Hooking News and Views, that old publication. It was the predecessor to Rug Hooking magazine. I know. My skirt is one of these LuLaRoe things. I look like a clown. I shouldn't have got on the couch today. Anyway, so I had it in her room, and then I saw a picture of it in one of these rug hooking magazines from the 1970s. Now, I know that Claire didn't quit her job and move to Nantucket until the late 80s or 90s. So I'm thinking it's not a Claire Murray design, that rug design I just had out. it's got to be someone else's, like possibly a Hutchinson design. And I wonder if anybody knows, because I was going to do a little bit on the Hutchinson. Hey, Cynthia, the Hutchinsons, James and Mercedes today. I'm going to do that next week when I'm a bit more set up for it. But I'd be really curious to know if anybody knows whether that mermaid design is a Hutchinson design because of the amount of text on it. So I get a little bit crazy about Claire Murray just because she's not my favorite in terms of design, but in terms of being a business person who made rug hooking a career and brought it into the front, she's that person. So I have this book, and you know how when I show you books, I recommend them. Like I recommend them by showing them. I'm not recommending this book, but what I'm saying is this style is not to be diminished. Like her stamp on rug hooking as it is, and the stores that she continues to open, like she opened 2, I think, on Cape Cod this year. I saw one on 6A and I saw one in Chatham that I hadn't seen before. And they are mostly home decor stores now, and you cannot buy a rug hooking kit. Her botanicals are what captured me. Exactly. This book is good for one thing, and it's browsing. So it's a beautiful coffee table book. I got it for $1. But I just want to flip through some of these because I think she's often diminished in terms of her role in rug hooking. And she is important because she brings it back into the home as like a design feature. And she's creating things that are expensive. So this is a good trend for rug hookers, having somebody bring them back as something that is not an heirloom or just something that's been handed down and is useful, but is something that is the object of the room. She does this for rug hooking in the 80s and 90s. And all of her inspiration comes from Nantucket, where she does her most famous mermaids and things. I'm sure you know these. These are all super iconic and identifiable. And the thing about Claire Murray, she does, this book is good for people who don't just rug hook, but cross stitch, because she's got designs for cross stitch, needlepoint, and rug hooking. And she's showing you the color codes for all, which is super helpful as a design book, as a craft book. Nantucket Bride, how nice is that with Neptune? And then she gives you charts for everything. But she's got some beautiful sea urchin riding a dolphin. She's got some beautiful patterns in here. I see this one a lot too, that classic mermaid. But she's not really doing this designing anymore. The Nantucket Village, that is a classic. I mean, that's a motif that's been done again and again, but not with that white picket fence. She did a lot of smart work, and I really respect her. Nantucket Sleigh Ride. And what made me think about her was the rug being in Jocelyn's room and me stepping on it 100 times a day. But also the Nancy Thomas collection that I just licensed, that Bon Appetit rug that's on Ribbon Candy Hooking right now. I haven't got a lot up because they each take a long time to get up. There's 1,000 questions you have to do as you put each listing up. But the Bon Appetit was a Claire Murray rug, and she licensed it from Claire Murray, and that's how I know she doesn't do all her own designing, because that was not her design. And that's what makes me think those mermaids, because it was in that earlier book, could be a Hutchinson design or just someone else's design. But I thought it was nice to talk about her and to just look at her, because I think we overlook her because she's so famous, but she has done so much, and her stuff really is primitive. This book isn't bad, it's just expensive. And it shows you great close-ups of yarn hooking, right? Can you see that without the glare? So Claire Murray hooks, she writes in the beginning a little bit of a bio, and she talks about how, I have a website now, it's up. No, it just came up. I was super slow. It's ribboncandyhooking.com, luckily, or I would never remember it. She talks about meeting a woman as soon as she moved to Nantucket who was already a rug hooker, and she taught her how to do it, but she taught her in the New England style that's also now known as the Nantucket style, which is using yarn and not wool strips. And she talks about how grateful she is to this woman, I think Margaret, for having introduced her to the craft. And as soon as she learned it, Claire Murray, she started giving workshops on Nantucket in her old sea captain's home that she bought after she left Manhattan with her money. I mean, isn't this like a Hallmark movie? I wish that I had been there to take a class in Claire Murray's old sea captain's house before she was super famous, and I wouldn't be allowed on the premises because I'm a commoner. Those must have been great times sitting there learning with her. But I have this rug that I was thinking about finishing it. I got this off Facebook Marketplace. It's a Claire Murray. And it's hooked with yarn, like all, because it was part of a kit from when she still did her kits. It's a giant oval. And I had the thought, since my mother is currently on Cape Cod and gave me a heart attack because she hasn't been answering my messages. And it turns out she's on Cape Cod with her friends, which I didn't know was happening at all. But it's a relief. But I thought about putting in the center of this, instead of a plain center, I thought about hooking for my mom. I hope she doesn't watch this video. Our house when we lived on Cape Cod in the center. We lived in Marston's Mills. And I thought it would be really nice to finish it with that. So people often ask about hooking with yarn versus hooking with wool strips. And I talk about this a lot in videos and classes. I didn't hook this, but I'm going to finish it for somebody else, hopefully with the Marston's Mills house. But tails up, like with everything. Hooking with yarn is great. I can't recommend it enough. I love hooking with yarn. I would say even more than with strips. And for people who struggle with twist, who are beginners, you don't have that struggle with yarn. The Claire Murray yarn is, I brought a few skeins in a bag here that go with this kit. It's really thick. It's like what you would call, if you're a knitter, chainette. So it's many ply, but it's held together almost like rope. And it comes out super, super, super full and fluffy. Twisting isn't a thing. You just go, go, go. There are other things with yarn, but the look of it is different. And that's the thing. Do you like it or do you not like the look of it? It's a lot of little dit dots. You're not getting a smooth finish. You're getting the dots, and there's no way around that. So yeah, Tad, you do work with yarn like really successfully, and it is super fun. People are getting more into it, and that's not a bad thing. One thing I wanted to say about yarn, it's a question I've gotten a lot lately, so I thought, let's do this. People have been saying, can you hook with Persian yarn? So for example, if you have in the past done needlepoint, spent hundreds of dollars on needlepoint kits and decided it's not for you, and you have all that Persian yarn, you can definitely use your Persian yarn to hook. It's not like you even have to use yarn to hook. You can use anything to hook that will go through backing. But Persian yarn is great. So, I mean, I have tons of Persian yarn from hoarding needle points from flea markets. You get bags like this in thrift stores for like 50 cents. This is Paternian. I'm going to show it to you. I can never pronounce this one. It's too long for me, but this is one of the most common brands you see. It's like a 2 or a 3 ply. These hook beautifully. And if they hook too small for you and it's too slow going, you just double them up, do them double, and then you get something more like that chainette yarn from Claire Murray. But they give you beautiful colors, and they're 100% wool. They're super lasting. Many of them, the vintage ones, are already moth proof. This is another brand, Busilla. You know this from like the Tapestry brand. They were super successful. It's called Tapestry wool. It's the same thing. It comes in all kinds of colors. And no matter what craft store you go to, you're going to find stuff like this. Green, 3-ply Persian yarn. The colors in Persian yarn, I have a huge basket of it with all kinds of many colors, because every time I see it in a craft store or in a thrift store, a charity store, I buy it. And I hook with it and it comes out great. Sometimes you get giant dust floating through the air. You get giant knots like this included, and it's just so much yarn for so cheap. You could also punch needle with this kind of yarn using, taking it apart. If it's like a 3-ply and you have a fine hook, you could punch with it. If you have a regular hook, you could punch with any ply. They're all going to work. So punching with Persian wool is a good idea. It's something you might want to try out. I wanted to show you this yarn. I don't know if you've seen this yet. I've seen this in knitting stores. It's called Crazy Yarn. So that's easy to remember. I bought a ton of them because they were like $9 or $10 each. And this really reminds me of the Day of the Dead. If you're into hooking with yarn at all, it's not just a variegated yarn. It's got like twist colors. It's got solids all mixed in. It's called Crazy Yarn because there are no two alike. And that's what it advertises. But I think I bought 10 or 15 because the price was so good. And I thought, like, in the future, let's hook something Day of the Dead. I didn't realize I was going to do these pumpkins, but with yarn, because the colors are so good. You can find these at craft stores. You can find them online. I think Amazon even sells this brand. It just looks like this. Crazy Yarn, no two alike. It's 230 yards. It's cheap. It comes in amazing colors. So, I mean, why not with something like this? Just get one skein, fill out the background of something primitive looking, and see if you like hooking in yarn. It's so beautiful. It's really beautiful. The store I got it at in Chatham, Cape Cod is just going out of business now. It's called A Great Yarn. But if you're near there or you don't mind them shipping, they probably are still open and closing things out with sales. So you might want to check a Great Yarn, Chatham, Massachusetts, and see if they still have it. I also found these guys. This isn't quite yarn, but I have to show you at a flea market. They're balls of really old balls of fabric that someone's wound. This one's just like denim. There's a few that are chambray and denim. This one's like, God, I don't know, but so pretty. And they're solid yarn. Sometimes people do this over styrofoam. These are balls of yarn, but they were so different. This one's so silky. It looks like a crazy quilt. And I don't see the stuff often, but you know, if I did see it, I don't know if I would even clock it before rug hooking as anything but a decoration. But I'm going to hook with these and see how it goes. This is the same idea as a sari, except these are old vintage fabrics. I mean, these are clearly early 20th century fabrics, prints, different materials, but why not try to hook with them? I think all of these balls at an antique store were like $6 for all of them. So obviously I bought those and emptied them out. And you know what else came that I want to show you? I got some more yarn in the mail yesterday from this girl that I just found on Facebook Marketplace. So if you don't go on Facebook and shop on Facebook, this isn't going to be super meaningful for you. But and she doesn't have a website, but her company name on Facebook is called Urban Hooker. Her last name is Urban. And I bought these amazing skeins from her for $10 each. I mean, that's just not what yarn costs. I think I got 5. The other one I left up in the studio room. But I mean, like, these are gorgeous for $10 each. So if you are on Facebook and you want to do hooking with yarn, check her out. Urban Hooker. I can put a link to her store. When she sells out because she's a stay-at-home mom. And she's doing dyeing like this. She's in South Dakota. But $10 each for 272 yards of rug hooking yarn that's been hand dyed is the bargain of the century. So I'll put the link to Urban Hooker in case you want to check her out. She's got some solids too, but of course there's a lot of people I dye and sell too. There's a lot of people doing it. I just thought those were particularly pretty, and I like to have other people's stuff. Sometimes I think I never outgrew that whole teenage thing of like wanting to wear my girlfriend's clothes and stuff to dances. And I still have that with hooking. I don't, as much as I dye and do wool, I sometimes use my own, but I still love buying other people's because it's just somehow more exciting, more interesting to use other people's stuff. Before we close, I want to show you this too. It's driving me crazy because it's not really a necklace. Let me get it out. But this is an idea, again, like the pumpkin, for people who you have enough stuff up and you're going, what else can I do with my rug hooking skills? I made this not really as a necklace. I just wore it to be silly this morning, but you can wear it as a necklace. It wants to flip because it's large. These little hoops, these little mini hoops, I put these little links in here, so that didn't come with that. But it comes, these little hoops are on Etsy and they're called mini wooden hoops. And they're craft hoops for people who embroider or whatever. You can do rug hooking on this too, or punch. And they send you the hoop, this little mini hoop. This is the largest circle they do, but they do ovals, they do squares, rectangles, they do smaller little hoops. It depends on how small you want to go. And it comes with the hoop with this impossibly tiny little screw, just like a proper embroidery hoop, and backing, and the middle piece, like there's a piece inside. So when you get these, if you want to make these, you're literally making a piece this size of something hooked. And in this case, I have to say, I think it's the only time I've ever used glue with hooking, such a small piece. I just couldn't, it's fiddly. The fiddly factor with this project is off the charts. But if you're okay with that, you can make some real pretty stuff like this. I wrapped around the edges and glued the edges with like those metal clippies, or a potato chip bag clips, that kind of thing, and let it dry. And then I put the frame around it, tightened the little hook, and glued the back on so that it hid the part underneath where all the ends were that were glued down. So all of it essentially fit in that, which was tiny. But I thought this was nice to show for now because it's a fun idea for fall. I think the smaller one would sit better as a necklace. This is pretty as any kind of an ornament. But I found these last Christmas, right before the holidays, and I bought a ton of them. And I made them all, not with these kinds of colors, but I made them tags for all the gifts under the tree. So some with like J, some with M and mom, and each one was different for each person. So I made like probably 15 of these hooked. I did them on monk's cloth, but you do them on whatever works, whatever works. And you don't have to go all the way to the edges too, but I just thought it was a neat thing and it was worth showing. And obviously the K facet motif is being continued right to the end of this episode. So those are some of the things I wanted to show. And one really quick thing before we leave is I wanted to ask you, do you shop around and see these old rug hooking catalogs? Because I do, and I love them, and I grab them when I do, because they are like priceless. They go along with our theme of grabbing historic stuff when you see it. Not that these are particularly old. They can be. I mean, I don't know if the Woolly Fox is still around, but I see people posting things with designs by the Woolly Fox. But what a thing it is. Even within the Woolly Fox, you see who the different Warren Kimball. I mean, he was a huge designer for a while. Some of his designs are in here. These books are so much fun to look at. I pick them up whenever I can, and you should too. And again, if you don't even want to keep them, just post them. Let me know somebody wants to buy them. I probably want to buy them if I don't have them. I pick them up as much as I can because you get great ideas for inspiration. Of course, you can't do commercial stuff out of these. You at least can search for designs on eBay, Etsy, the rug hooking groups. Marion Ross, see, I don't even know Marion Ross, and I should. Hooked rugs, canvas floor cloths, nutcrackers. This is the very kind of a store I would die for, in real life or online or anything. But these are so much fun to find and to look through. And when I do, sometimes I see some of the designs that I see people posting on the Facebook groups, older designs, because sometimes you get a design and you just sit on it for ages until you have time to hook it. And you go, oh, okay, Marion Ross, now I know. Got this nice one, Jacqueline Designs, the joy for the joy of hooking. And I mean, she's got some beauties too, more old schooly ones, a lot of Jacobean type designs, but so nice Christmas stuff. So I'm always picking these up. They often have them like in rug hooking stores, but they're not for sale because they want to hold on to them too for like reference purposes, I'm sure. And that's always a bummer. This is an old one, 1950, Burnham's. Patterns on burlap. Have you heard of Burnham's? Because I haven't. At least I don't register it. But they have some nice color and not color, old-timey designs that, of course, I associate with Pearl McGowan, but they're not. They're Burmans. I'm going to have to Google this later and see. A lot of, the really old-time motifs, real primitive, some nice runners. Look at that. But it's just fun to find these, just to sit on for the sake of history and learning. But, so patterns are fun. So along those lines, and also Tad, if you're still on there, I just wanted to say I'm also working on the possibility. I haven't done the subgroup for ribbon candy hooking in our Facebook group, which is the Rug Hooking Roundtable, which is a group for people that work in rug hooking and want to help each other with questions and answers, and help push each other forward with all of our projects. But Woolly Fox is open in Tyler, Texas. Oh my gosh, is it? That sounds nice. Oh, I'm going to have to look up. They probably have really cute pictures on the website. But I'm going to come back to everybody with Rug Hooking Roundtable next week. And what I'm trying to do, because there's a lot of people who've been asking advice with thoughts about they have designs that they'd like to put out there for sale. And I am really actively right now trying to work on a feature on the website that is now up, Ribbon Candy Hooking, of having an umbrella under there that's for other people, where there'd be a system like you pay a nominal amount to have a page with your PayPal attached to it that works under the existing website. So my stuff is separate in my tabs, my collections, then the Nancy Thomas stuff is separate. I have another contract with someone I haven't announced yet that will come soon, but I'm creating a space where there's going to be other places for other artists who, if you have a few designs that you want to get out and try to sell, I want you to be able to do that without commission, just having a spot on the website where you can sell, see how it goes. Just put out a few things here and there, or be busy with it until you're ready to build your own website and get going. I want to be as helpful as I can with that, because I know a lot of people are designers and are just starting and do beautiful work. So I want to figure out how best to help you put your designs out there as cheaply as possible, but to get the most people to see them. April says, I got a pattern from Cushing in Maine that was called Burnham Medallion. Maybe they have the rights to the Burnham. You know what? I'm sure they do. Now you say it, they have the rights to everything. Everything that Amy Oxford doesn't have, I think Cushing has. So that's amazing. That's a really good thought. When I go on Cushing, I'm overwhelmed by the amount of patterns. And when I'm searching for things, I know I'm only scratching the surface of what they've actually got because they have so much. And I don't know. I think it's Lizette Miller. I wonder if I'll ever be able to get in touch with her and go up there and like look through some of the stuff that's not there because I know my Vermont hooking group, we bought recently what's called the Dudley pattern. It's a promo gown, geometric, and it's not on the website, but they had it. And I bought that and haven't started it, and it's beautiful. But it makes me think that there's a lot of patterns there that are not actually on the website and available. So that is something to get stomach cramps about over the weekend, thinking about all those patterns that are there that you haven't seen yet. But exciting note for a Friday afternoon. Have a great weekend, everybody. It's a holiday weekend, but I'll be back on Monday. And we'll talk about the possibility of next Friday starting a happy hour thing. But have a wonderful weekend. I hope you find time for yourselves to do some fun stuff. Find time to enjoy the weather if you're getting weather like we are here. It's so pretty. I was just up there too, bought a Wiley Oriental pattern. Oh, how nice. Yeah, maybe a road trip is in order. Have a great weekend. I will see you all on Monday. Take care. Be careful. Have fun. Do great things and post your stuff online so I can see it too. I want to see everything that you're working on. Have a great weekend. Ooh.